If you have already viewed lesson 1.3, you will realize lesson 1.4 is very similar. And the reason is subtraction and addition of fractions are actually the same process. We are only changing the sign. If you haven't viewed lesson 1.3, do not worry, we're going to explain every single detail again. For subtraction of fractions, we have two scenarios, equal denominators and different denominators. If we have equal denominators, like in this case, both of the denominators are c, we just need to copy that denominator once and subtract the numerator. So a minus b. This is the same process every time we have equal denominators. Let's put it into practice. 3 over 8 minus 2 over 8. We actually did this problem in lesson 1.3 as an addition. We're now going to do it as a subtraction. First, make sure that the two denominators are equal to each other, which is true. They're both 8. So we can copy them into only one denominator. And then subtract 3 minus 2. 3 minus 2 is simply 1. So the answer to this subtraction is 1 over 8. Let's do it one more time. This time we have 3 fractions. We can have 4 fractions, 5 fractions, 1,000 fractions. As long as we have the same denominators, we can do the same procedure. So first, we need to check that the denominators are equal, which is true. In this case, all of the denominators are 7. So we can just copy them into one denominator. And then subtract 6 minus 3 minus 2. 6 minus 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. So the answer to this subtraction is 1 over 7. But as we know, not every time in math we're going to get as easy as equal denominators. Actually, most of the times we're going to get different denominators. When the denominators are different, technically what we're doing is forcing them to have the same denominator. This is called equivalent common denominator. We get to common denominator using equivalent fractions. Now, there are two methods. The first method is a little bit longer. Some people consider this easier. So let's do the first method. The first method is 3 over 5 minus 1 over 6. We saw this problem as well in lesson 1.3, but we did it as an addition. Now we're going to do it as a subtraction. First, copy the first fraction, 3 over 5, and write it exactly as it is, 3 over 5. And multiply times the second denominator. So we're going to multiply this times 6 over 6. This is a subtraction, so we write the minus sign. And now we copy the second fraction and write it as it is. And multiply times the first denominator, which is 5. So multiply times 5 over 5. This is a multiplication of fractions. We learned this on lesson 1.2. It's just multiplying horizontally, but you can review lesson 1.2 if you want to refresh this idea. After the multiplication of fractions, we get 18 over 30 minus 5 over 30. Equal denominators, so we can copy them into just one denominator. And then do the subtraction of 18 minus 5, which are the numerators. 18 minus 5 is equal to 13. So the answer to the subtraction, 13 over 30. Let's do it one more time. 2 over 3 minus 4 over 7. It's the same procedure, just follow the same steps. Copy the first fraction, write it as it is. Multiply times the second denominator, 7 over 7. This is a subtraction, so write the minus sign. Copy the second fraction, write it as it is, and multiply times the first denominator. This is a multiplication of fractions, which remember, you can review on lesson 1.2, but it's just multiplying both fractions horizontally. So after doing the multiplication, we get 14 over 21 minus 12 over 21. Equal denominators, so we can copy the denominator into just one denominator. And finally, subtract the numerators, 14 minus 12. 14 minus 12 equals 2. So the answer to our subtraction, 2 over 21. This is the first method to do subtraction of fractions with different denominators. There is a second method. It's more direct, sometimes it's faster, but my recommendation to all of my students is do whichever method you feel more comfortable with. This second method, we can actually bring back our a over c minus b over d fractions. We use these fractions when we want to write a formula, because we can actually do this with a formula. First, multiply the denominators, c times d. Then multiply across, a times d. And this is a subtraction, so we do minus c times d, which is the other cross multiplication. If we follow this formula every single time, even in more advanced math, we're always going to get the correct answer. But let's put it into practice one more time with this problem we already did with the previous lesson. And we also did it in the previous method. So let's repeat the operation. Multiply the denominators together. That's 5 times 6, and that goes in the denominator. And then we go across. 3 times 6. This is a subtraction, so write the negative sign. And then across again, 5 times 1. If we repeat this operation every time, we're going to get the correct answer. So then multiply. 3 times 6 is 18. 5 times 1 is 5. That's our numerator, 18 minus 5. And our denominator, 5 times 6, which is 30. The last step, just do the subtraction on the numerator, 18 minus 5, which is 13. And this is our answer, 13 over 30. And we see it's the same answer we got in the previous part of the lesson. So no matter which method we use, we always get the same answer. And this is why my recommendation to all of my students is to do whichever method you feel more comfortable with. For more math lessons like this one, visit our website, mathusermanual.com, or follow us on Instagram at mathusermanual.